And finally, new rule, Melania Trump must do what dozens of buildings around the world have done and take the Trump name off. It's not anti-feminist to say that in addition to doing everything men can do intellectually, women also have another power, the power of the ultimatum. Getting men to change their destructive ways by threatening to leave them, humiliate them, or cut them off in bed, it's a tale as old as time. In the ancient Greek play Lysistrata, women end a war by denying sex to their men. It was the original Bush doctrine.
Nobody saw it coming, but Bill Maher went all in without a second thought. Within moments, Melania Trump's polished and carefully maintained image was completely torn apart in front of millions watching. What seemed like just another late-night joke quickly turned into a brutal takedown that hit far harder than anyone could have imagined. Donald Trump reacted almost immediately, firing off one of his signature all-caps rants in classic Trump fashion. Meanwhile, Maher walked away cool and composed, leaving the internet burning behind him. This wasn't just edgy comedy, it felt like a targeted hit right at the core of everything the Trump brand represents. Now social media can't stop analyzing every single word, and late-night television has locked on to its newest obsession with no signs of letting go.
Melania, the world needs you. President Hellboy has proved to be impervious to facts, reason, shame, and the law. But maybe if you left him for another man, especially if that man was Mexican, maybe he would implode on his own. Maybe it falls to you now, Melania. You can end this reign of terror, and all you have to do is channel your inner Taylor Swift and walk out the door.
Bill Maher's takedown wasn't just mocking Trump for being some kind of clown. It was a chilling look into the disturbing reality that the former president is backed by a full-blown machine built on manipulation. Maher pulled back the curtain and revealed that Trump isn't just ignorant or corrupt, he's a strategic agent of chaos who feeds off dysfunction and instability. And what makes it even more unsettling is that, as Maher highlighted, millions still cheer him on with blind enthusiasm. The scariest part is that Trump fully understands just how broken the system really is, and he's using that very decay as a pathway to claw his way back into power. This isn't a comedy show anymore. It's starting to feel like a horror film where the villain only grows stronger every time the audience laughs. And Maher, he's raising the alarm like we're standing on the edge of the final act.
Your unhappiness is obvious. You despise his creepy little monkey fingers touching your hand. So kick him to the curb. Slap away that hand for good. No more public embarrassment. No more porn stars. No more stealing your makeup. Toss his boxy clown suits on the front lawn. Just tell him, I'm leaving you and I'm taking our child. He would be stunned. We have a child?
There's a reason this commentary has people nervously whispering about 2025 like it could be the year everything unravels for America. Bill Maher's words hinted at a truth that most people are too afraid to say out loud. Trump doesn't need to win fair and square, he just needs to unleash enough chaos to break the system. If the 2020 election taught us anything, it's that Trump will never willingly admit defeat. He'll cry fraud, ignite rage, stir up mobs, and let the country burn if it keeps the spotlight on him. Maher didn't just say this outright, he made it painfully clear. Trump isn't out here fighting for America's future, he's fighting to avoid prison, to hold on to power, and to stay above the law at all costs. And if that means tearing democracy apart in the process, he's more than willing to do it. That's not politics anymore. That's a full-blown national security threat.
Now, we got a hold of Melania's list. I don't know if you're allowed to but these are her rules. You are not to leave your girdle on the bathroom floor. You are not to ask for hand. You are not allowed to eat Wendy's in bed. Tell Wendy I can hear her. You are not to ever again mention the bride catalog's return policy. His name is Barron, and he's our son. Stop asking who's the kid. You must at least consider drinking, or whatever else will put you to sleep. When I say I love you, do not reply with "you're welcome." If I say jump, I'd like to see that.
But Bill Maher wasn't the only one speaking out. All across the media landscape, the gloves have officially come off. Legal analysts, late-night comedians, and even some of Trump's former allies are going after him with a level of intensity we've never seen before. They're not calling him a politician anymore. They're calling him a con artist, a sociopath, even labeling him a cult leader. And what's even more disturbing is that his supporters aren't backing down. In fact, they're more fired up than ever. Every indictment, every scandal, every unhinged Truth Social post only seems to deepen their loyalty. At this point, it's no longer about elections or policies. It's about blind devotion to a man who feeds them promises of revenge, unrest, and destruction. Maher understood this perfectly, and that's exactly why his commentary landed like a bombshell. It wasn't a political jab, it was a direct spotlight on the dangerous cult-like movement surrounding Trump.
25 things you didn't know about Melania. In Slovenia, I was a catalog model, which is what you call a model you order out of a catalog. I have no first language. I hope I inspire little girls everywhere to marry for money. Oh, that's so sweet. Every time I look at my husband, I'm reminded of the Slovenian national dish. a fat, greasy sausage filled with cheese. I once caught Mike Pence trying on my stilettos. Well, that's... My Secret Service code name is that poor, poor woman. I copied this list from Michelle Obama. Well, that's... Sometimes when I bounce light off my diamond, Donald's hair will chase it like a cat. I wish I knew why I have a recurring dream I'm pinned beneath a giant orange sack of shit. And if I could tell my younger self just one thing, it would be this. If you catch a leprechaun and he gives you one wish, be more specific.
What Bill Maher did live on television wasn't just bold. It felt like a cultural wake-up call. He shattered the polite silence that so many in power cling to and called Trump exactly what most won't dare say out loud: a threat, a parasite, a man twisting democracy into some kind of dystopian game show. And here's the twist. Maher isn't some fringe radical shouting from the sidelines. He's a veteran commentator with decades of experience, someone who spent years blending humor with insight. So when a voice like his stops cracking jokes and starts issuing warnings, you know something is seriously wrong. Trump's behavior isn't calming down, it's evolving into something louder, meaner, and completely shameless. And if Maher is right, 2025 won't feel like just another election year. It'll be a final test of whether America has any backbone left. Maher isn't just roasting Trump for laughs, he's slow cooking him in front of a national audience. And this time, he pulled no punches. On his show, Maher delivered what can only be described as a nuclear-level takedown. With his trademark smirk, he didn't paint Trump as just a failed former president, but as someone so hooked on the spotlight that he'd rather burn the country down than be forgotten. This wasn't satire, it was a diagnosis.
Maher described Trump's comeback not as a political campaign, but as a full-blown ego trip fueled by delusion, triggered the moment his rally crowd started to shrink. And when Maher said Trump was rotting from the inside out, the entire studio fell silent. No one laughed, because everyone knew it wasn't just a punchline. It was a chilling prophecy.
At Trump's speech this month to a joint session of Congress, he claimed the government had spent $8 million making mice transgender. It did not. The $8 million was for transgenic mice, mice that were being genetically modified to study how hormone treatments affect human health. We were splicing their genes, not making them compete in women's sports. We weren't spending $8 million to give mice big balls or fake tits. Sorry, Stuart Little. Wait.
But Maher wasn't alone. Almost on cue, commentators, late-night hosts, and even some of Trump's former allies started piecing things together. His speeches had become increasingly erratic, his rallies were drawing smaller crowds, and his legal battles sounded more like fantasies than actual defenses. Everything about his public presence screamed desperation. Even Fox News, once his most loyal platform, began slowly stepping back, like someone realizing too late that they were standing next to a ticking time bomb. Then came the quiet murmurs. Trump wasn't just dangerous anymore, he was starting to unravel mentally and emotionally. His obsession with crowd size had shifted into a fixation on courtroom drama. He demanded loyalty from everyone around him, but rarely gave any in return. He made grand promises one moment, then seemed to forget them the next. He launched angry crusades he couldn't follow through on. What America was witnessing wasn't a political comeback, it was a public unraveling. A man who once boasted endlessly about his wealth was now pleading for donations like a televangelist, spiraling into political freefall.
The fact that President Trump got this wrong isn't what bothers me. Transgender mice is crazy, but it's not crazier than 1,000 other things that our government has funded over the years, like developing origami condoms or studying why chimps fling their feces, okay? No, what's worrisome about it is that nobody around the president would dare tell him that transgenic is not transgender. It makes you think that if Trump came down one day and his fly was open, Republicans wouldn't tell him. They'd just start showing up with their fly open.
What truly rattled insiders wasn't what Trump said in front of the cameras. It was what he was saying behind closed doors. Leaked accounts from staffers painted a disturbing picture. Paranoid rants, shouting at shadows, and long hours spent rewatching his own speeches like a man completely entranced by the glory of his past. Former aides revealed that his focus had shifted entirely, no longer talking about policy, but consumed by thoughts of revenge. And then there's the alarming belief he holds that somehow a second term will act as a personal shield, protecting him from the avalanche of legal consequences closing in. That's not politics. That's a criminal delusion. Every decision he makes now oozes the panic of a man feeling trapped, spinning further into a twisted reality where he's the victim and everyone else is the enemy. And maybe, for the first time, that feeling isn't entirely wrong. Then came the moment Bill Maher dropped a bombshell so intense, even the most jaded viewers paused. He boldly suggested that Trump might not just lose the next election, he might try to burn the entire country down on his way out. Not symbolically, literally. Maher said Trump would rather scorch the foundations of democracy than let someone else sit in the seat he still believes is rightfully his. And the most terrifying part? It didn't sound far-fetched. We've seen Trump openly praise dictators, insult fallen soldiers, and sabotage critical public health responses, all because admitting weakness is his ultimate fear. Now imagine that same man cornered, surrounded by a loyal base who believe they're fighting a holy war, with no plan left but destruction. That's no longer a campaign.
That's a ticking clock counting down to chaos.
And these bills they've introduced to make Trump's birthday a holiday and put him on currency and Mount Rushmore. This is not what we do here, guys. He's still in office, for God's sake. Can we see how it turns out before we put him on a stamp? If I admit that there is a level of Trump derangement syndrome on the left, will you admit that this shit is also deranged? All the people.
And still, millions continue to cheer. That's the part that should truly haunt every one of us. Because despite all the chaos, the endless scandals, the indictments, and the collapse of any moral compass, Trump supporters don't see a con man. They see a savior. That kind of delusion doesn't happen by accident. It's the product of years of calculated psychological manipulation, crafted to blur reality and blind loyalty. Bill Maher captured it perfectly. Trump isn't functioning as a political leader. He's become a cult figure. And like every cult, the story only ends one of two ways. You either wake up or you go down with the ship. The chilling question now is how many Americans are willing to sink deeper into Trump's falsehoods just to avoid facing the painful truth that they were deceived all along. The answer to that may ultimately determine whether democracy survives or fades into history.
We would put out a little pamphlet called Tips for Donald Trump's Cellmate. He's probably going to have a cellmate. So these are things you might want to look out for if you are, if you're the person who becomes Donald Trump's cellmate. Don't believe him when he says how many cigarettes he's worth. Explain to him that he's not allowed conjugal visits from his daughter. He loves compliments, so tell him that jumpsuit really brings out your orange. Don't be surprised if one of his cavity searches turns up Sean Hannity. When he begs some Mexican inmates to help him get over the wall, refrain from pointing out the obvious irony. Let him know that singing YMCA in the shower might send the wrong signal. Don't get aggravated when he keeps referring to his one phone call as perfect. He's a big eater, so don't be surprised when he takes a shiv and makes it into a spoon.
But here's the real mindbender. Trump isn't even trying to hide it anymore. He's not just disconnected from reality, he's completely off the rails. While the rest of the country struggles with rising living costs, bitter culture wars, and crumbling institutions, Trump is fixated on late-night comedians and TV hosts. He's trading jabs with Bill Maher like it's some childish playground feud instead of a serious presidential campaign. And the most unsettling part? His supporters absolutely love it. They're not looking for a leader who brings stability, they want a troll with a megaphone. Someone who ridicules, bullies, and manipulates while playing the perpetual victim. Trump isn't campaigning for the presidency in any traditional sense. He's auditioning to become the undisputed king of chaos. In his world, every insult, every rant, every meltdown isn't a mistake, it's a message. It's a twisted kind of promise that the chaos will only grow louder.
Yeah, the Kennedy Center is not something I really care a lot about, but I do care that an American president doesn't see anything wrong with him personally taking it over, or that his communications director, Stephen Chung, said it was justified because Trump, quote, is a virtuoso and his musical choices represent a brilliant palette of vibrant colors when others often paint in pale pastels. Jesus, Stephen, don't get any in your hair.
And yet, beneath all the tantrums and paranoia, Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He's turned victimhood into a calculated political weapon. Every indictment becomes a witch hunt, every critic is branded a traitor, and every consequence is spun as proof of unfair persecution. This isn't a legal defense, it's a marketing strategy. He's crafted an image of himself as the ultimate underdog, a billionaire martyr supposedly hunted by shadowy forces within the deep state. But let's be clear, this isn't some noble David versus Goliath battle. This is Goliath pretending to be David, crying foul every time someone dares to toss a pebble his way. Trump has perfected the tactic of screaming louder than the noise of his own scandals. And the GOP? They've gone from being a political party to full-time enablers, clapping for the performance while the very foundation of the republic slowly bleeds out.
25 things you don't know about me, Donald Trump. Would you like to hear? Of course you would. All right. When I masturbate, my tiny hands make my penis look bigger. I don't drink alcohol. I cause others to drink alcohol. Not only do I read the Bible, the book of Revelations mentions me by name. Mar-a-Lago is Spanish for house of douche. I saved the box Melania arrived in so I can return her when she turns 50. I never actually believed Obama was born in Kenya because I thought the name of the country was Kanye. Sometimes late at night, I worry that my obsessive self-aggrandizement and self-promotion are symptoms of inner weakness and a transparent childish impulse that everyone can see. I worry they're laughing at how obvious it is that I'm an abandoned, frightened child swirling in a black emptiness. But then I tweet shit about my poll numbers and I feel better. I cry at movies because they're integrated. The original name for Trump Tower was my big shiny penis building. I like things made of gold more than every Persian combined. Oh. I can peel a banana with my feet.
Just look at the way Trump talks about the justice system. Judges are corrupt, prosecutors are thugs, jurors are rigged. It's the same tired playbook every single time. Discredit, deflect, destroy. Not with facts, but with pure noise. Because Trump understands one terrifying truth about the world we live in now. In a post-truth era, the loudest liar often wins. And if he can convince just enough people that everything is fake, the courts, the media, the elections, then eventually nothing will feel real at all, not even democracy itself. That's the true horror of Trumpism. It's never just been about him. It's about torching every system designed to keep him accountable so he can crawl from the wreckage as something far worse, a dictator in a red tie. And then there's the Melania factor. The ghost-like silent figure who once stood smiling at his side but now seems to have vanished from view. Her absence isn't just awkward, it's telling. In a marriage built for optics, even the optics have shattered. When Robert De Niro joked that she needed a rescue mission, the internet lit up. But Trump? He erupted. Not to defend her, but to defend himself. It wasn't about her hurt, her silence, or her absence. It was about his wounded pride, his public image, his brand. That's the essence of the Trump doctrine. Empathy is weakness, and love is just a photo op. Everything else? Collateral damage. So here we are, watching a former president unravel right before our eyes. His supporters cheer, his critics sound the alarm, and yet the circus rolls on. Trump has transformed every scandal into entertainment, every courtroom into a rally stage. He thrives in chaos because chaos blurs the truth. And the truth is devastating. Donald Trump isn't just unfit to lead, he's actively tearing apart the very institutions he once pledged to protect. At this point, it's no longer just political. It's a fight for survival, for democracy, for decency, and for every American who still believes in something greater than one man's ego.